Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 87th episode of In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 10th of February 2025. My name is Mukesh Nagar, an associate principal in the cyber threat intelligence team. Joining me today from the CTI team is Dave Truman, Brian Hicks, and Sarah Carrigan. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So, let's get into the situation report. First up, another update to KTA252 or Cleo around their attacks. They have released an additional list of 50 possible Cleo victims. The list is similar to its previous tactics of redacting the company's name before fully disclosing each organization. The list consists of company names starting with C through to E. Cleo is encouraging victims to contact them if they think they have been affected. From our previous reporting, we are continuing to track this very closely and will continue to update you all on any further updates we have observed from this group. Now, moving on, a vulnerability in 7-zip reported by Kroll 2 weeks ago is now being actively exploited in the wild, allowing attackers to bypass security warnings and execute malicious code without users' consent. Researchers have observed cybercriminals using the mark of the web bypass to deliver SMOKELOADER malware. The vulnerability allows remote attackers to execute arbitrary code on affected installations of 7-zip, and with no auto-update feature, many users still remain vulnerable. In recent attacks linked to Russian cybercrime groups have also leveraged this exploit in spear phishing campaigns targeting Ukraine. These attacks also use a homoglyph technique manipulating typographic similarities to trick users into opening disguised malicious files by replacing the Latin characters with identical-looking Cyrillic characters. Attackers make their payloads appear legitimate, leading unsuspected users straight into a trap. Now, in order to protect yourself from this, we recommend users to update 7-zip to the latest version immediately, as well as being cautious when opening files from untrusted sources and verifying file extensions carefully to spot disguised threats. We also recommend staying alert for phishing campaigns using manipulated characters. Now, researchers over at Fortinet have documented the infection chain of a new malware attack suite that has been attributed to Chinese Threat Actor KTA252 or Evasive Panda. The attack suite consists of a collection of malware injected into the SSH daemon on the network appliances for persistent access and covert operations. In order to mitigate the risk of this attack, users are recommended to maintain a proactive stance to network monitoring, utilizing up-to-date IOC feeds for detections, as well as deploying endpoint detection and response, and next-gen antivirus on all endpoints within your environment to assist with detecting suspicious behavior. And just a reminder, if you do have any questions or comments, please get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. Now, let's get into the rest of the report. Today, we're going to cover the following trends our team has been concentrating on. I will be covering abandoned S3 buckets, posing a supply chain risk, and an attack method called browser Syncjacking. Dave will be covering SALITY as part of the malware spotlight. Ryan will be covering FLEXIBLEFERRET, a malware family that has been linked to a Contagious Interview campaign, targeting job applications and developers via GitHub, and Sarah will be covering the Ransomware roundup. Now, every day, organizations rely on cloud storage to keep their systems running. But what happens when they forget about it? A recent investigation by watchTowr has revealed a critical supply chain risk relating to dormant or abandoned S3 buckets. Now, these forgotten cloud storage locations remain referenced by automated systems, making them an easy target for attackers. Since S3 bucket names must be unique, an attacker can take over an abandoned bucket, replace its content with malicious files, and inject them into critical operations. This creates a severe supply chain vulnerability, one that often goes unnoticed due to organizations failing to track and retire old cloud assets. Now, in order to prevent exploitation, researchers have recovered over 150 vulnerable buckets, transferred them back over to AWS or verified security teams to carry out sinkholing. If you use cloud storage solutions, let's make sure your past isn't a gateway for an attack. We do recommend users to track and catalog all S3 buckets and verify their necessity. Catalog every place in which buckets are referenced, as well as ensure to host software libraries and deployment scripts in private or verified repositories rather than relying on external or potential temporary S3 URLs. We also recommend continuously monitoring cloud environments for S3 bucket creations and deletions. Researchers over at SquareX have uncovered a stealthy attack known as browser Syncjacking, a campaign that hijacks Google profile browsers and even entire devices. This attack requires minimal permissions and little user interaction beyond installing what appears to be a legitimate Chrome extension. Once a victim enables Chrome Sync, attackers can gain full access to stored credentials, browsing history, and sensitive data without the users realizing, by leveraging the Chrome native messaging API. Now, full details on this campaign can be found in the report. To defend against this attack, we do recommend users to only install extensions from trusted developers and carefully review permissions. Regularly check Chrome settings for signs of unauthorized sync activities. Ensure multi-factor authentication is enabled on all Google accounts, and be cautious of prompts to enable Google Sync or install updates from non-official sources. Furthermore, disabling unnecessary Chrome extensions that request broad system permission will help defend against this attack. Now, over to Dave for the malware spotlight to tell us about SALITY.
Thank you. SALITY is a botnet malware associated to Russian-speaking cybercrime group KTA252, aka Salty Spider. It can perform malicious tasks and run other malware. It has been used for various purposes, from sending spam and distributed denial of service attacks to stealing passwords and recording keyscrapes. SALITY uses a peer-to-peer network to download additional payloads and updates. SALITY has been observed attacking security software, terminating processes via a kernel-level driver, and removing critical files from the system. It has also been seen modifying the Windows host file to black hole security vendors' domains. The malware itself spreads via infecting executables, making use of shared drives and removable USB devices. It also has the capability of modifying system files, allowing it to spread more easily and making it harder to remove. Much of the malicious code is encrypted with the executable within the executable, leaving only a small chunk that is responsible for the decryption. The malware is polymorphic, changing slightly each time it infects a new executable, making signature-based detection less effective. Using a good EDR with behavior-based detections and disallowing the use of USB storage devices might help in reducing the spread of the malware. Thank you, Mukesh.
Thank you very much, Dave. Now, over to Ryan to tell us about FLEXIBLEFERRET, a malware being identified as being part of Contagious Interview campaign. Over to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Mukesh. So in December last year, researchers identified a campaign dubbed as Contagious Interview that they attributed to an unnamed North Korean threat actor. The campaign was themed around fake job interviews, leading applicants to an impersonation of the legitimate Willow interview website. And it led victims to answering questions as part of the fake interview before being greeted with a message similar to that seen in the recent ClickFix campaigns, getting them to copy a command, and that's what's seen in the top right. The payload for this campaign was a Golang backdoor packaged up with a Chrome update Mac O application, and that has since been bundled in with under the Ferret malware family. And last week, Apple released an update to its X-Protect tool, and that included blocking of various variants under this family, which include those as part of their persistence module, as well as the backdoor that was described back in December. And SentinelOne also conducted research quite recently into another member of this family, they call FLEXIBLEFERRET, and that appears to be a variant on the previously reported payload in December again. It notes that unlike previous examples, this variant was signed with a valid Apple developer signature and contains several applications and a standalone binary called Zoom. And the ultimate goal of the family appears to be heavily around cryptocurrency wallets and gaining financial for financial gain. And since the original instance of this contagious interview campaign seen using the interviews, additional vectors have emerged, including that same curl command being posted in GitHub repositories to target developers. It was by creating a fake issue as part of the repository in an attempt to coerce victims into running code, again with the same outcome, and that's shown on the bottom right there. The key recommendations really here: remaining vigilant for these kind of evolving social engineering techniques, involving not only kind of job applicants but particularly job interviewers as well, but also perhaps more relevant for organizations is targeting of developers, particularly on GitHub. That's all from me. Back to you, Mikesh.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And finally, over to Sarah for this week's ransomware roundup. Over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Nikesh. Today I'm covering ransomware groups that solicit insider information via their ransom notes. These groups are Sarcoma and Donex ransomware, and they've been observed by researchers for utilizing an unseen tactic that solicits the victims to provide insider information by posting the advertisements in the ransom notes. So these advertisements are promising financial rewards for information that can help these threat actors in the ransomware groups access valuable and sensitive company data. So the first part of the ransom note includes the usual cadence that has always been seen, such as stating that the company's in critical situation, their backups are destroyed, and data has been exfiltrated. So in the ransom note sample from Sarcoma, the group states, if you help us find this company's dirty laundry, you will be rewarded. You can tell your friends about us. If you or your friend hates his boss, write to us and we will make him cry and the real hero will get a reward from us. So in another ransom note from a various group, the threat actors write in this one, would you like to earn millions of dollars? Our company acquires access to networks of various companies, as well as insider information that can help you steal the most valuable data of any company. You can provide us accounting data for the access to any company, for example, login and password to RDP, VP, corporate email, etc. So we are monitoring this tactic. It is recently emerging and could possibly be adopted by other groups, as this is a new strategy to gain further insight into victim organizations. That's all for me, Nikesh.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you to Dave and Ryan. That's all we've got time for this week. If you have any comments or questions, please do reach out to us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. Have a wonderful day.